In the Shastra Vichara portion from today, we will study the Ayushya Sukta. As we have earlier discussed, Ayushya Sukta is also part of the Rigveda, but it belongs to what we call as the Khila Bhaga. Khila means appendix. So a number of hymns of Rigveda are actually added as an appendix to the Rigveda. So therefore there is no traditional swara structure. So the swaras that we use in chanting these Kila Suktas is where we just do it from the Guru Shishya Parampara. So from the beginning, in the way in which it is, these swaras are taught. That is how we have also adopted. Yo Brahma Brahmana Ujjabhara Pranayshira Kritivasa Pinaki Ishano Devasana Ayurdadatu Tasmai Juhomi Havishaghritena. So we have used this traditional way of chanting. So today's subject is to know the meaning from now onwards. So we'll first take an overview of this entire Ayushya Sukta. First and foremost, why are we even praying? First of all, we are asking for long life. Why do we want long life? We go into these fundamental questions. So usually we want long life so that we have got a strong body, we can eat halwa and then enjoy, and then so that's the primary. Me too. Me too.
I'm halwa man.
No, actually, in our assembly, I am known for asking for sweets.
My eating there, he tells me I'm true Brahmin.
So I get Brahmananda when I eat halwa.
Yes.
So so it is not just for the sake of artha kama, not for just only for the sake of acquisition of wealth or enjoyment of the pleasures of wealth. That's not the only reason. The reason is for getting the knowledge of this self. Enormous amount of sadhana has to be done, and this sadhana takes a long time. And secondly, we also have to go through the challenges of life. There are two methods that we can do. One is life negation. It is called Nivritti Marga. In life negation, what can a person do? He can actually give up all the bondages and become a sannyasi. That is one lifestyle. There is also another methodology called Pravritti Marga. In Pravritti Marga, you are proactive, you actually engage with the world, and then you go through the challenges of the world, hardship of the world, the beatings that you get from the world, and then you mature. How it is just like we are born with ignorance, but with the potential to discover the self. The metaphor that is usually given in our Shastras is, how do you mine gold? So you dig the earth, and then you get a lump of clay or lump of the earth. In that lump of the earth or a piece of stone, streaks of gold are hidden. Then what do? They beat this lump, and then they separate it, and then they throw this into a huge hot cauldron, and in that cauldron they separate everything. That means the gold, which was in its comfort zone, we make it uncomfortable. That's exactly what the world does for us. From the comfort of the mother's womb, the baby takes birth and goes into the discomfort of the world. What is the process? What is the reason for that? From this comfortable location of this lump of gold, which is in the earth, with no threats whatsoever, comes out, and then you go through the process of purifying the gold. How much of hardship it will face? You melt, you beat, you stretch. Everything we have learned in physics will happen to that. Malleability, ductility, everything will happen to that. And finally what happens? It becomes an ornament worthy of being worn by a king. So I must become worthy of an ornament which can adorn the neck of Ishvara. So that is the Nivritti Marga. And to do this, it takes a long time. So for that, we are asking for Ayusha, for long life. So in this mantra of Ayusha Sukta, there are 9 parts. In these 9 parts, in part number 1, which is Yo Brahma Brahmana Ujjabhara Pranaishira Krityavasa Pinaki Ishano Devasana Ayurdadhatu Tasmai Juhomi Havisha Ghritena. We are addressing to a deity called Ishana. And this Ishana is mapped on to Brahman. So that is the first mantra, is requesting Ishana to give us long life. The second mantra, Vibhrajamana sarirasya madhyadrochamano gharma ruchirya agat samrutyupashana panudya ghora rihayushedo ghृतमत्तु devaha. Here the devata addressed is Surya or the sun. Now, why address Surya? It is because every sunrise and every sunset, it is our one day of life is gone. Isn't it? Udyan Astamitam. Udyan rising, Astamitam setting. One day of our life is gone. In that one day, Surya, while you are taking away my one day of my life, make me eligible to receive the knowledge which is going to make me understand, learn, and experience the immortality within me. Because who is this Surya? This Surya is the one who gives energy. This Surya is the one who gives us knowledge. And as many times in our class I have given the etymology of the Sanskrit word Surya, Sushtu Rati iti Surya, one who reveals things perfectly. Obviously, in sunlight, all the things we see is more perfect than what we see in artificial light or in the night. So it is metaphorically, we are seeing the light of wisdom.
Which word means Surya in that section?
This is Vibhrajamana sarirasya madhyat rochamano gharma ruchirya agat samrutyupashana panudya ghorat ihayusheno ghृतमत्तु devaha. That section, second section.
Vibrajamana means Surya?
Vibhrajamana means one who is shining. Vibhrajamanaha, one who is shining. So, Devaha, one who is effulgent. So, I will parse each word. First, I will give an overview of the structure of the, and who are all the Devatas we are worshipping. So, first is we looked at Ishana, and in the second mantra we look at Surya. Third mantra is Brahmajyotir Brahmapatnishu Garbham Yama Dadhat Pururupam Jayantam Suvarnarambhagraha Markamarchyam Tamayusheno Tamayushe Vardhayamo Gritena. Here we are talking about what is known as Brahma Bija. That is the original seed from which the entire universe manifested. So because you are seeing the variety, you are seeing the expansion of the universe. So if you go into the source, ultimately it has to have started from something one. And that one is called Brahma Bija. That is, we can also call it as the Moola Prakriti, the original undifferentiated matter. When matter gets differentiated, the world is formed. In the undifferentiated nascent state of matter, it is called Brahma Bija. So the potentiality of birth and death is in that seed. Isn't it? So it is in the very beginning of creation, both birth and death was created. But the gap, the time between birth and death is, we need a long life between birth and death, again, for the sake of getting this knowledge, which is not easily acquired. It is not something simple like, you can learn a table, mathematical table, an arithmetical table. You can probably learn in 10 minutes. But Brahmajnana, the knowledge of the self, is not that easy. Therefore, the Brahma Bija, original concept, we will go to the very root of the creation and say that reformat that root so that I will live long. That's the third mantra. The fourth mantra. Shriyam Lakshmi Maupalambikam Gam Shashtin Chayamindrasene Tyudahu Tam Vidyam Brahmayonigam Sarupam Ihayushe Tarpayamo Gritena. So in the original Brahma Bija, not only there is the potential of birth and death, there is also the nucleus of knowledge. So what do we get, what do we want to get out of that? Let us say there is a mango tree. In the mango tree, you have the roots, the trunk, the leaves, everything is there. But what is it we are looking for? We are actually looking for the fruit. And that, where is that fruit? That fruit is also embedded in that original seed which you planted. The fruit is already there. Like that, knowledge fruit is also there in the Brahma Bija, and may that knowledge fruit, which is under the control of the Vidyadi Devata, Vidyadi Devata is God of the deity of knowledge. It can be Saraswati, it can be Ganapati. That Vidyadi Devata, may that Vidyadi Devata make my study efficient. Because again we have finite time. In this finite time, how much of time I can invest? Give me that strength of, as soon as I hear once, for me to completely internalize the teaching. This is called Eka Shruti Dharatvam. Eka means once, Shruti means hearing. If you hear something once, we should never be able to forget it in the rest of life. If that ability I had, then imagine how much of knowledge I can gain, and then how much of contemplation I can do. And is it possible to attain that state? The answer is yes. How? By means of razor-sharp focus. This is something that all of us should experiment. You take one passage, let us say this particular passage, Shriyam Lakshmi Maupalambikangam. And then when you are trying to memorize that, in the period of memorization of this mantra, we must train our mind not to think of anything else, whatever happens. And then you can actually do a metric. How many times have I had to read this mantra before I memorized it? So let us say it took me 10 times, it took me 15 times to memorize this mantra. Then tomorrow you take another mantra and again calculate the metric. If you are able to do it in 12 times, to that extent you are reaching the goal. Like this, we have got to do an experimentation about our ability. When we do that, we will discover what an extraordinary potential we have got. How do I say that in the context of our study? In the original Brahma Bija, that original seed, I was also part of that seed. Isn't it? Me, the individual, was also part of that seed. So with whom did I take birth? I took birth not only with birth, not only with death, but also with knowledge, isn't it? If I can be born and if I will die, why not I get knowledge also? And therefore, in the Brahma Bija, there is also the Vidya, and please give me the efficiency of acquiring Vidya very quickly and thoroughly. That is the prayer in the fourth mantra. The fifth mantra, what do you do with knowledge? What do you do with long life? What do you do with an efficient body? That has got to be translated into work. And that work must be efficient. That work must be useful to the whole creation. We are serving Ishvara. And for that we need dakshata. Dakshata or daksha means efficiency, perfection, both in terms of attitude as well as in terms of execution. And therefore the next mantra, the fifth mantra, is a prayer to Daksha Prajapati, because he was the first one who started the creation process. Daksha Prajapati was the one who was assigned by Brahman, by the original Ishvara, saying that you are the one who should create the entire universe. So Daksha Prajapati's prayer here, Dakshainyas sarvayonyas sayonyah sahasrasho vishwarupa virupa sasunavas sapatayas sayuthya iha ayusheno ghritamidam jushantam. Iha ayusheno ghritam idam jushantam. We offer ghee as in the yajna. That ghee is myself. I am offering myself as the ghee for this universal effort. So that is, Daksha is the fifth Devata we are actually worshipping. The sixth Devata we are worshipping is, there are what are known as Maruts. These Maruts are these winds, the various winds. I think I will check the correct number. It's about 46. I have to make sure the number from the scripture. So those winds are the one, every time the wind blows, to that extent our eyes is going. So that is why when we look at the body who is always working outdoors, the changes in his body, what do people say? This body is weather beaten. Isn't it? That is because of these Maruts. And these Marud Ganas are also the manifestation of Rudra, of Shiva, who is the one who is going to bring the end of the universe. And for me, if I die, that's the end of the universe, isn't it? It doesn't matter whether the rest of the world continues. And therefore we are praying to this Marud Ganas, Divya Gana Bahurupa Purana Ayushchido nah pramattantu viran tebhyo juhomi havisha ghritena manah prajagumri risho mota viran. So sixth Devata is the Marut. And the seventh is addressed to Yajna itself, the process of worship itself. So a cross reference to this is, if you go to Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavad Gita he says, Sahayajna prajasrishtva. So along with the creation of the living beings, Yajna was created. And Yajna's Lord is Mahavishnu. Yajnapati is Mahavishnu. So here we are asking for Yajna. Eka purastadya idam babhuva yato babhuva bhuvanasya gopaha yamapyeti bhuvanagam samparaye sano havirghritamihayushe tu devaha. Now then, creation happens. When the creation happens, earth is there. If the earth is there, atmosphere is there. If the atmosphere is there, the sky is there. The various planets are there. The stars are there. Every one of them is critical for my existence. Look at the beauty of the creation. Just because Ashwat should exist for a given period of time on the earth, Ishvara has created the earth, he has created the water, he has created all the five elements, he has created the stars. Everything is created. And therefore, the next thing I have to say is, who are these that created? So the entire organization, of Ishvara in this creation, they are all called as Devatas. We will see the definition of Deva also. When they have created this, when they having created that, there were roles were assigned. What were the roles? A set of Devatas, deities were assigned. The role, you are all the Devatas of the earth. We call them as Prithvi Devatas. Then we said that you are all the Devatas of the atmosphere, Antariksha Devatas. You are all the Devatas of the sky. You are the Dhyusthana Devatas. So that is why we have got Om Bhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Suvaha. Om Bhu means it one's utterance of Om Bhu, that akshara, you are actually worshipping all the Prithvi Devatas. And you say Om Bhuvaha, all the Antariksha Devatas. Om Suvaha, all the Dhyusthana, that is the sky Devatas. And this mantra, number 8, is now identifying those Devatas of these realms, earthly, atmospheric, and also of the heavenly. Vasun, Rudran, Adityan. Vasu, 8 of them are there. Ashtavasus, they are the Prithvi Devatas. Rudra, Antariksha Devatas or atmospheric Devatas, 11 of them. That is why you do 11 times Rudra Parayana. Because there are 11 of them. Then there are 12 of the Adityas are there. That is why 12 months are there. That is why when you do Surya Namaskara, you do it 12 times. So, Vasun, Rudran, Adityan, Marutotha Sadhyan, Rubhun, Yakshan, Gandharvagascha, Pitrugascha, Vishwan, Bhrugunta Sarpaschangirasota Sarvan, Gratagam Hutva Swayushya Mahayama Shashvat. So, this Prithvi, Antariksha, and those Devatas are worshipped. The final 9th mantra is somebody has to make all these things organized, controlled, and they have got to make sure that this system called the Rita, this is called Rita, this Rita is not disturbed. And that overarching deity is Vishnu. So the 9th and the last mantra concludes with a prayer to Vishnu, saying that preserve me. Vishnu tvanno antamasharmayacha sahantya prate dhara madhushchuta utsanduhrate akshitam. So you can see the architecture of the Ayusha Sukta. You start from the original cause. The original cause, which is, let's see, number 1, the original cause which can be identified as Ishana at this point of time. See, original cause, search for original cause. How do you do search for the original cause? From where we are. This is the present time. From the present time, you go back in time to the past, and then you also go forward into the future to get the entire range of what the original cause can do. And therefore, you start from Ishana. That's why Ishana also we say Ishana Sarva Vidyanam. Ishana is the one who is the Lord of all knowledge. Ishana Sarva Vidyanam, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. He is the Lord of all living beings. Brahmadhipatihi. Brahma here means Veda. He is the Lord of the Veda. Brahmadhipatihi, Brahmanodhipatihi is also the Lord of the first creator. Brahma, the creator. Brahmanodhipatir, Brahma, you are yourself knowledge. Shivo me astu sada Shivom, may he be all auspicious to me. So you start from the present. You start from Ishana, and then you go for how I lose each day in my life by looking at Surya. And then you, number 2, then you go to the original cause, which is Brahma Bija, number 3. Then in the Brahma Bija, you identify not only yourself, but you identify the seed of knowledge. Number 4 is Vidya. Number 5 is to achieve the efficiency or establish the process, Daksha. Then you have got the various forces, which the Marudganas, that is the various winds. Number 6. Then you have got number 7, Yajna itself. And number 8, you are looking at the earthly, environmental, and the heavenly devatas. And number 9, you are worshipping Vishnu. So this is the architecture of the Ayusha Sukta. Now from next week onwards, we will take up each mantra and each word of the mantra, and then let us see what the sages say in Ayusha Sukta. So we're going to have probably another 9 weeks of the Shastra Vichara on this subject.